go over. You sure? Okay. Again, the more practice you do, the better you get. It's kind of like a language. The more practice you learn, the more time you spend learning the language, you will get better at it. All right, so now let's go over the bell ringer. Bell ringer. Okay. Now, I did this problem only because I feel like this is the one where people struggle the most, is ones where you have to plug them in for yourself. So I'm going to take this M, and I'm going to put a 5 wherever I see an M. So in green, wherever I see an M, that 5 is going to replace it. Same thing in blue. Wherever I see a P, I'm going to take that -9 and I'm going to replace it, replace the P with it. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to do -9. The minus sign stays the same. Then I have 5. This minus stays the same. Then I have divided by 3. Okay, so all the black is the same. And then in green, I have 5 times a -9. Okay, this is another one. Again, if you had me last year for science with bell ringers, I gave you a point for doing it, for trying it, giving it effort, and when I collect them on Fridays, I give you a point for making sure that you're correcting your answers. I know it's super annoying, and you're probably like, oh, that's too much work. Oh, that's just how I work, because I feel like you learn so much better when you make those corrections. Okay, even if you didn't get it, make sure you're kind of taking notes on it now then. All right, so when you look at this, there's a lot going on, but I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to subtract. You have -9 minus 5 minus this whole group. So these are both negative signs. They're not multiplication, they're subtraction signs. So if I owe you $9 and I said, hey, give me 5 more, like I now owe you $14. So now I'm at -14. So when I think of negative numbers, I think that of money. Like if you owe me money and then you took more from me, now you owe me 14. Okay, I'm going to bring down this black minus sign. All divided by 3. Well, what is 9 times 5 or -9 times 5? Yeah, -45. Now, here's the best part, at least that I think of. When you have a negative and a negative, what's going to happen? It's going to become positive. So now it's actually easier because you're just going to be adding. Now, this is one where you can use a calculator on if you don't know how to divide. Remember, that means division. What's 45 divided by 3? 15. So I have -14 plus 15, which is what? Yeah, just 1. Got it. Good job. Okay, again, it's a process. It takes a little bit. As long as you know where you went wrong, you're one step further. Okay, so do not feel bad. Math, out of all of your classes, will be the one you make the most mistakes in, and you have to be able to accept that. Hi. How are you? We just went over the bell ringer and the homework. And we're about to get out your blue packeted notes, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Yes. Yes, I got to do that. So sorry, I forgot about that. Blue packet. You want to go to day 2. That page, extra page, is for you if you want extra practice. I know that some people were doing it already. Gotta go sharpen it. Is it in your lap here? Do you want to go check it? Because it's a big packet. I don't want you to lose like what you already have in there. Okay. Here, take this. All right. See, this is what happens when there we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and flip to day 2, please. There's that nice sharpener, that's gray. Yeah, right there. Yep, go down. That one's harder to use. That one's actually nice. Yeah. Are we supposed to do this yesterday? No, that's for you. So that back page from yesterday, that's for you if you need extra practice, you can go ahead and use it. All right. For some of you, this is going to be super boring. For some of you, it's going to be a great review because it's one or the other. You either know how to solve or you don't know how to solve. And I've seen already both versions in my last period class. But hopefully after today, you do get a little bit better. One-step equations. When you're talking about one-step equations, you guys did really well on the pre-test on one-step equations, so hopefully we can fly through this one section. When you're doing any equations, the very first step is to locate the variable. Now, a variable just means like a letter, A, B, C, D. When it comes to math, I'm going to start using math terms with you guys because I feel like as you guys have progressed, teachers have kind of just like, oh, it's just the letter. Okay, no, well, when you take a test in the future, it's not going to say letter, it's going to say variable. So I want to make sure that you understand when you go take those exams, you know what you're talking about or what you're reading for the direction. So it will say like solve for the variable. I want you to know variable means letter. Okay, determine the operation that's tied to the variables. Okay, so are we adding to x? Are we subtracting from x? What's going on in regards to x? So here, we're adding 4 to x, which means in order to solve for it, I have to subtract. Another math term that you might hear once in a while is an inverse. You want to use inverse operations. Inverse just means opposite. So again, some teachers might say opposite, but I'm going to start saying inverse because I want you to know the math terms if you are ever asked of them later on. So inverse is the math term for opposite. So what is the inverse of addition? Subtraction. And what about for multiplication? Division. Very good. If you want to put subtraction, you can, but you can always check your answers when you're doing solving. If you feel like you went completely wrong, you have the ability to check all of your answers. Always. Always and forever. Okay? Give you a second. If you can ever not see or read my handwriting, do not feel bad. I want you to tell me, because sometimes when I'm tired, I get really bad handwriting. Okay, now, some of you, again, this might be so easy, you're going to be like, oh, but take advantage of it, okay, because it's not going to always be this easy. When you read this, it says x plus 7 equals -1. Well, the variable's on the left side, which means everything else must go to the right side of the equation. Got it? Perfect. So if I'm adding 7 to x, what's the opposite or what's the inverse to get it to the right side? Well, we have to do to both sides to get rid of that 7 on the left side. Yeah, subtract 7. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 7 to both sides. Try to stay as organized as possible when it comes to solving. What you do to one side, you must do the other. I have seen some people do this. You don't have to. But if you're someone that struggles with solving, if you put like a dotted line here, you have to write it on the left side and the right side of that dotted line. Okay? Because when you solve, it must be balanced. So I have x equals what number then? -1 minus 7. Careful.
8.
Just 8? -8. Okay? Here's what I want you to think of, and I'm gonna always show you tricks and how mine works. I've told you that my mom made me listen to this crazy CD when I was younger. If you have 2 negative numbers, you're really just adding. 7 plus 1 is 8. And just know it's negative. It's like if I owed you $7 and I took one more from you, now I owe you 8. So if you have 2 negatives, all you need to do is add them, and you attach a negative at the end. So if you struggle with negative numbers, which I throw a lot of negatives at you because I want you to start getting comfortable with them, try to use those tricks. Another trick like this one, I'm just going to help you out on this one. I'm going to add 11 to both sides because that's the opposite. It says m minus 11. If you say minus 11, then you better be adding it to the other side because it's the opposite or the inverse. Okay, so I have m equals. Here's my trick. If you have a negative number and a positive number, and you're adding or subtracting them, really you can just kind of, flip it. 11 minus 9. So if you get confused on like what's -9 plus 11, that might be hard to think about. But if you think 11 minus 9, it's a lot easier. Well, what is 11 minus 9? 2. You're done. Okay, I want you to do, I want to do 3 with 3 actually. So once again, the first thing I do is I locate the variable. There it is. It's on the right side. That means everything must move to the left. If I locate the variable and it's on the right side, I must move everything to the left. When you read it, it says 14 plus h. Well then, if I read 14 plus h, what do I have to do to move the 14 to the left side? Subtract it. There you go. So sometimes when you read math, it makes it easier for you. If you can read that it said 14 plus h, you should know then you have to subtract it. Again, another trick. when you're doing this, when you have negative numbers, really, what's 14 minus 9? Yeah, 5. And what number is bigger? The 14. So it's got to be a negative 5. Oop, a negative 5. And you're done. Okay, go ahead and do 4. First you get. Careful with your signs, what I'll recommend. Okay. Good. Awesome. Okay, so this will be boring for some of you. You might be like, God, it's so easy. But just take advantage of it.
Can I get a calculator?
You might, yeah, you can go with it. Good. Awesome. Fill it in. What'd you do? Oh my gosh, you already read it? Wait, this one? Oh, wait. Okay, so if you were to read it, A minus 8, how would you move it away? You would add 8. I think you divided. So we're gonna, you got it, right? Oh, got it. Awesome. Just watch your sign. It's actually negative. And I'll explain mine. Good. Same with you. Just watch your sign. Good.
I think I got it.
Yep. You good now? Okay, so very good. The only thing is that if you have a negative and a positive, really you're just subtracting them. So 21 minus 8. Okay? You're going to get it? And that equals 2. So you really technically have 21 minus 8. Yep. And it would be negative. Very good. All right, good. Get it. Okay, so you guys did great. Just a little minor tweaks I would give to you for those that were struggling on that part. When you read this from left to right, you have negative 21 equals k minus 8. So when you're looking on the right side, because that's where the variable is, if you say k minus 8, that means you must add 8. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Now here's where people struggled. A lot of people got 29. If you have a negative and a positive, you're really just subtracting those two numbers. So you can think of it as negative 21 plus 8, but that could be kind of hard. If you just do 21 minus 8, you're going to get 13. Knowing that the 21 was negative, it has to be a negative 13. Okay, so be careful with your signs. Like I said, there are calculators there. If you're really struggling with the addition and subtraction, that's fine. You're more than welcome to go grab one. I just want to challenge you, if I can, during class time for you to try to do it without, and then for homework and all other stuff, you can use one. All right, we're going to go fast in some of these parts. Hold on, Riley. If you were to read it on the left side, because that's where the variable is, it's A. It says 4 times A, so what would you do, Riley? Division. Because I said 4 times A, I'm going to divide by 4. Which gets me what? Yeah. Negative 6. Very good. I like that you said negative. Okay? Try 6. Be careful with your signs. Do number 6. I'm gonna go over in a second. I'm not gonna walk around this round. Hopefully it's quick. When you're done, and when you're done, only look up. I told you 7s are my weak point, isn't it? 8. 8 times 7. Okay. I told you 7s were my. Did I tell you guys that 7s were my weakness? I don't know if I did. Some classes I tell other things. When I do extra math, 7s are my weakness. Out of addition, multiplication, anything with a 7. I don't know why. No idea. Okay, the only reason why it's positive 8, because a negative divided by a negative is going to get you a positive. Okay, now let's look at 7 and 8. They're kind of the same kind of question. If you were to read it, and some people struggle with this because they just don't understand what that line is. Hold on, Riley. The n is on the left side, and when you read it, it says n divided by negative 5. So you physically said, or I did, divided by negative 5. So what's the opposite? What do I have to do to both sides? Yeah, multiply by -5. So sometimes when you read math, or you can read it out loud or in your head, you're able to do that a lot easier, which gets you a -45. Okay? Do 8, please. This one should be easy. Hopefully you don't need a calculator for this round, because it's just one simple little multiplication. Good. Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, 100%. Yep. So many different ways to do math, it's insane. So if you have a different way, you're more than welcome to show me. How you doing, kid? So that says r divided by 8. Well, we have to do to both sides to get rid of the divided by 8. It's the opposite. Yeah, so multiply by 8 on both sides. That one was right. 16, yep. Because when you multiply by the 2, then you're done, because it's gone. Okay? You're going to get it. Doing it. Yay! Good. Great. Thank you, everyone. Okay. All you have to do is multiply by 8 on both sides, which gets you 16. Okay, flip it. Now we're going to go to 2 steps. So same thing as last time, but with one extra step. You should have a good 10 minutes at the end of class to finish your 10 questions for homework, so don't worry. Okay. I'm not going to fill out the top because it's the same thing. So if you want to copy it down from the previous page, you're more than welcome to. It's still the same thing. Locate the variable. Use the operations. Okay, so I'm going to skip all the way to here. My variable's on the left side of the equal sign, which means that both those numbers, the -2 and the 9, must move to the right. So I always do the furthest one away from the a. I have 9 times a minus 2. What would you do first? What do you think you should do first? Which one's further, the 9 or the 2 from the a? The 2. So that's the one I'm going to do first. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Okay, so if you locate where the variable actually is, like sometimes I have students that actually point to the variable, like if you put your finger on it and say, okay, the 2's further, so I'm going to move that first. Okay, that might help you. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. So now I have in black, because it hasn't changed, 9a equals, well, what's -65 plus 2 before you answer?
-60.
Before you answer. That's okay. I want you to remember that there's so many different ways that you can do this. Really, that just means 65 minus 2. 65 minus 2 is, like Jamil said, 63. But remember, the 65 was negative. So just ways to do it in your head if you're trying to do it in your head without like really overthinking it. Or think I owe someone $65 but I only have $2 in my pocket, so now I owe that person $63. Okay, what would you do next, Jamil? Go ahead.
Divide by 9.
Yeah, I would divide by 9 because it's currently multiplying to 9. Question?
I got a question. We forgot to answer the top part.
Yeah, I said that it's the same as the previous page. So I'm not going to fill it in, but you can if you want. It's the same exact thing. What do you get?
7.
7. Just 7?
-7.
There we go. I told you I'm going to challenge you with those negatives because for some reason I feel like people just like stop giving you negatives because they think you're not going to get it. No, I'm going to get you to get it. I'm that teacher that's going to make you love math by the end of the year or just hate me because yeah, I know some people really truly hate math. I get that, but hopefully by the end of the year you feel a little more confident than you did when you walked into this room. I really want you to try number 2, please. Take your time. Try to use mine as an example.
I have a question.
Yeah. I know we're going to get there. Yep. What is this answer? Okay. Got it? Just watch your sign. Good. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, some of you, I feel like this is easy for you because it's just something that comes natural to people. You either get it or you don't. And you just need to keep working. As long as you get one of the steps right, you should feel accomplished. Just keep trying to push forward. Do you see where the sign was? Good. You're in a good spot. Look at you. Very good.
Did you get a bucket this time?
Oh, I got one on there. Great. There you go. So you were there. You had it right in your brain. Now it's going to be easy for you. Really, really close. So instead of adding 4, if you read it, -4. So careful though, it's -4 times x. So what's the opposite of times x divided? Got it? Take a sheet. Really close. The only thing is this 4 part.
Yeah.
So you're there. Let me just kind of back you up a little bit. This is right, the 20 part. But instead of adding 4, you read it -4 times x.
So,
So we divide by, not just 4 though. Yeah, the negative attached to it.
okay.
So then you are dividing each side by a -4, which is basically like dividing by 4. Good.
But
Good.
Sorry, if I did it that way, would you mark it wrong, or if I added, just
It's not correct, that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't worry about the mark it wrong kind of thing, just think of it as, is it right? Is it the right way to do it? Okay? Don't ever worry about like points and me marking you off. I'm probably one of the most flexible teachers, and I just want to make sure that you understand something rather than you getting marked the points off. Like, if it gives you an anxiety of like getting points off because of like little things, sometimes I just give you warnings like, hey, you just messed up on your sign. Like, it's okay. Like, I want you to understand that it's okay to make mistakes in math. Like, it's okay. Okay, I make them all the time, and I majored in math, okay? So, we do want to subtract 7 first. If it helps you, read it. -4 times x plus 7. The more you know the math language, the better you get at it. So when you said plus 7, or I did, I subtract 7 to both sides, which gets me -4x equals 24. Now when you read it one more time, it says -4 times x, which means I must divide by -4. And again, so many people on different levels. Some people are like 5 seconds, some people are a little bit longer. No matter where you are, it's okay. We're only going to do a couple more, so don't panic that we're running out of time. I'm going to make sure that you have at least 10 minutes for your homework. Okay, I want to do 3 because it looks different, and people get worried when it comes to fractions. Like, oh my God, it's a fraction, and like freaking out. Okay, don't freak out on me. Read it. If you were to read this in your head, you would read it as k divided by 3 minus 11. The last thing I said was minus 11, so what would I have to do to both sides to get rid of it? Add 11, thank you. It's gone. Once you add to the other side, it no longer exists, so make sure you move it completely. In black, nothing has changed, and I get what on the right side?
16.
Very good. Now, someone asked me a question I thought was really, really great. Some people want to throw like a 1 here and cross multiply. You can do that. That's totally valid, which is basically what you're doing anyways. Again, if you were to read this, it says k divided by 3. So what's the opposite or what's the inverse?
16 times
16, or multiplying both sides by 3. Very good. And that goes away. Once it's crossed out, it's gone. You don't have to rewrite it anywhere else. Some people were trying to keep that 3 over there. Now this is one where you would probably use a calculator, or if you want to go off to the side and do it, 6 times 3 is 18, and then I get 48. Because 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. If you could have used a calculator on that one. Okay? questions on that? It's a hard one. Okay, we're going to move. What's up?
6.
No, we're moving all the way to the next page. Okay, so I want to just make sure you get one of each type. So it says, recall, to divide a fraction, you're technically multiplying by what's called the reciprocal. That's the math term for basically the opposite. You're multiplying by the switched. So the reciprocal of 4 divided by 9 is technically 9 over 4. What that means is that when you multiply these together, if you notice, they're going to cancel out. And you're just going to get 1. And whenever you have 1, that's exciting because it's just, you can just make it go away. So in order to get rid of something, you have to multiply by the reciprocal if you're working with fractions. If you have 2/3 or 2 divided by 3 times x, what's the reciprocal of 2/3? 3 over 2. So the reciprocal is 3 over 2. You must multiply both sides by 3 over 2 to get rid of that fraction. Some people in my past years have multiplied by 3, wrote everything out, then divided by 2. If that's you, go for it. This is just a quicker method because look what happens. The 3's cancel, they're gone, because 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then the 2's cancel because 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, then I have x equals, this is definitely a calculator question, so you might want to type it in or wait for someone to type it in. You would have to do 48 times 3/2. Can someone type that in for me, because I'm not a genius? Actually, I could probably figure it out, I just don't want to do it. Anyone?
I don't know how to have this.
What'd you get?
72.
Let's see, 48 divided by 2 is 24 times 3 is 72. Good. Yeah, that one's a little bit challenging. Okay? Really what you'd do in your calculator, if you had like a not fancy one, you would do 48 times 3, get an answer, then divide by 2. Okay? Number 8 is the same thing. You just have to add the 9 before you do anything. Okay, so before I do anything, I would first have to add the 9. So I would get 10 equals 5 divided by 6c. And then you would go from there. But I'm not going to keep going because it's the same thing that you can look back on this one and keep going. Okay? We just got one more to do together, and then you're going to do one for your homework. Not like one, I mean like to get your homework. And then you should have a good 10 minutes before you leave this room to finish it. Okay? I'm not going to fill this in. It's basically the same thing. I want to make sure that you have enough time. I just want to give you examples. You're still going to locate the variable. Where is it at? Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply or divide depending on what to do. Let me teach it first, and then I'll let you go. Okay? What?
Question.
What's up? Go ahead.
Can we leave our answer in fraction form?
It can be in fraction form, yeah. But if it's able to reduce, like here it'd be 60 divided by 5. Think of a clock. How many numbers are on a clock? 12. So 60 divided by 5 is 12 because it goes 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm telling you, I have really weird thoughts. Like I come up with the weirdest things to learn math. So if you feel like you're still not getting it and want a trick in some way or like need a different way to learn it, I'm telling you, I'm the person to go to. I could probably find a different way that would work for you. Okay, so let's look at this one. I'm going to locate the variable. It's right here. It's on the left side of the equation. Now again, this one's a little bit weird because when you read it, it goes x minus 1 divided by 6. Because the whole thing is dividing by 6. What am I going to do to get rid of it? Multiply by 6 to both sides of the equation. Some people like to cross multiply. You can do that. If you like to cross multiply and put that over 1, you're more than welcome to do that. It's totally up to you. Once you do that, they cancel because 6 divided by 6 is 1. So I'm left with, in black, x minus 1 equals what's 6 times 2? 12. My last and final step is to do what? Because look at this part's easy. What would you do to both sides to get rid of that 1? Add 1. Very good. The more you stay organized, the better you will be at math. I would really like you to do number 2, and I will get your homework if you get it right. I will say, be careful with your negatives because you got some negatives going on here. When you have two negative numbers, you're technically adding them. Like if I have a negative 5 minus 5, That's gonna be negative 10. All I did